If following Jesus has never made you uncomfortable, you might not be following him at all. We ask God to help us grow spiritually, and then we panic when he answers with discomfort. But that tension isn't punishment. It's often the beginning of transformation. Have you ever prayed, "God, I just want to grow spiritually," and then almost immediately found yourself in a situation that made you question every decision you've ever made? That moment of tension, that sudden discomfort, that internal resistance, that's not a mistake. That's often what carrying your cross actually looks like. In Matthew 10:34-39, Jesus says something that still unsettles people today. "I did not come to bring peace, but a sword." That can sound shocking at first, especially coming from the same Jesus who taught us to love our enemies. But he wasn't calling us to chaos or cruelty. He was preparing us for conflict, not with others first, but within ourselves. Following him was never meant to be comfortable. It was meant to be transforming. Somewhere along the way, we softened the phrase "carry your cross" into something symbolic and safe, like enduring mild inconvenience or having a bad day with a good attitude. But Jesus wasn't talking about inconvenience. He was talking about sacrifice. The cross represents the weight of obedience, holiness pressing directly against human comfort. If following Jesus never costs you sleep, ego, reputation, or control, it's worth asking what you're actually carrying. Faith that never stretches you is rarely forming you. Real discipleship applies pressure. It exposes attachments. It challenges the part of us that wants blessings without pruning, growth without surrender, and purpose without cost. When faith feels too easy, it's not usually because you're strong. It's often because you're avoiding the tension that leads to growth. Jesus goes even further when he talks about love and loyalty. He says that anyone who loves father or mother more than him is not worthy of him. That sounds harsh until you understand what he's protecting. When we place any relationship above God, family, friendships, even good and loving connections, we put a weight on them they were never meant to carry. And eventually, they crack under that pressure. God isn't jealous because he's insecure. He's jealous because he's the only one capable of holding your heart without breaking it. When God isn't first, everything else becomes a distorted second. Sometimes relationships shake not because God is cruel, but because he refuses to let your identity or joy rest on something temporary. Even spiritual disciplines can quietly become substitutes if we're not careful. Fasting, prayer, church involvement, all good things, can turn into performance if we start trusting the activity more than the presence of God. The goal was never to master routines. It was to deepen relationship. That's why Jesus continually calls us to seek first the kingdom, not the checklist. When effort replaces dependence, even holy habits can become distractions. True discipleship keeps pulling us back to the heart, asking not, "What am I doing for God?" but "Who am I becoming with him?" Following Jesus requires constant self-examination, not obsessive guilt, but honest reflection. What's pressing against your comfort right now? What are you holding on to that God has been asking you to release? Sometimes the cross feels heavy not because God made it unbearable, but because we're dragging things he already told us to lay down. And when we finally obey, when we loosen our grip, there's often a surprising lightness that follows. Obedience doesn't remove cost, but it does remove unnecessary weight. And what you gain in return is something nothing else can offer: peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, and purpose that doesn't expire when seasons change. If your walk with Christ feels heavy right now, don't quit. You may be in the middle of transformation. That resistance you feel isn't abandonment. It's evidence that your spirit is alive and responding. So the next time discomfort shows up, instead of asking, God, why me? Try asking, God, what are you shaping in me? Because the weight you're carrying today may become the witness someone else needs tomorrow. If this message challenged or encouraged you, take a moment to like the video. It helps this reach others who are walking the same road. And if you want more honest, grounded conversations about faith and growth, subscribe to the channel and stay connected. Faith was never meant to be easy. It was meant to be real.